Is your hunt primarily software based, or do you guys do any do you have manual review teams or anything like that for what you're looking for on the back end?
It is software based,
Uh
but
huh.
we mostly work with country domains, CCTLDs. They're quite messy, so sometimes they don't follow their own rules. For example, domains may expire earlier or later than it should be officially. So
Mm-hmm.
we have a lot of like QA work going on, checking if the software works, if everything is okay, people comparing lists to see if everything is as planned. But we have a lot of manual work with evaluating because of
Okay.
evaluating cannot automate.
Well, and you're hunting a bunch of different CCTLDs. So how do you go about, like with the language barriers? Do you have, different criteria in different languages that you're looking for, or how do you go about that? Because I know you've got like Greek domains, Serbian domains, any number of different places.
Yes, we
That seems
work
a
in
bit
every
complex.
country that is profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the interesting stuff is that it's not about language that much.
Mm-hmm.
It's about internet culture.
Okay.
So, for example, an internet culture comes from a lot of things, the mindset of the people, the online community, the cost of the domains. For example, in Bulgaria, the local domain .bg
Mm-hmm.
costs 30 euro,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lot. So there are no spammers on .bg. They use
Makes
.com,
sense.
.eu, and other domains. So the .bg space is quite clean. There's not a lot of spam. But
Okay.
if you go into the Czech Republic, where the domains cost 4 euro,
Mm-hmm.
and you will find that there are so many directories and catalogs and other parasite websites made by SEO spammers
Mm-hmm.
that and so many exchanged links between websites, like huge footers with a lot of exchange link and stuff like this, or link pages where people exchange links. So a
Right.
lot of old school stuff. So you find that you cannot really trust your instincts because you can see,
Interesting.
okay, referring domains 150, trust low 20, but then it's all exchange links.
Right. Right.
So it's all about culture. The link building works differently in different local markets, and in some places they use a lot of directories. In the others, let's say a lot of articles. Some spaces are quite clean, and there's not actually a lot SEO spam at all. Let's take Ireland.
Sure.
In Ireland, it's quite regulated to register a domain.
Mm-hmm.
So in Ireland, you don't have spam almost at all on .ie domains.
I.
So basically, you can trust that all links that you see are genuine links. And there's a lot of different things in different countries, different kinds of spam. Basically, you should understand at least a bit the language to see well what is an article, what is a classified ads website,
Right.
what is a directory. You should know these keywords in all the languages you work because you don't want to buy a domain and then it turns out it only has directories or
Right.
only paid articles.
So
So it's more of a culture thing.
how are you going through these backlink profiles on, their languages that you don't speak? How are you doing that?
Just initially.
Like when you're trying to determine if the backlink profile is spammy or not, and you're looking at all their links and it's in a foreign language, how are you making the determination?
Well, you develop a feeling after some time, but basically before that you need to know a few different things.
Mm-hmm.
In each country, you should remember the website that have high DR, high DA, high metrics, but that anyone can put a link into. So like
Right.
blog platforms and all of those. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't value them highly. So if you see a DR80 link coming from one of those, you know it's just a blog platform. So you ignore it. You should know those. You should know uh, like typically spammy anchors in each main language, but basically you don't need to know the language because
Okay.
a good website has most of the link with brand URL, and if you have a good feeling and instantly, let's say from the name of the domain or the first links, you know this kind of domain what it was. Let's say it was a news website, and you guess this in the first 5 seconds, then you know how a news website's link profile should be.
Right.
It should have a lot of links to sub pages from other news websites, from blogs, diverse link profile. And some links, of course, with the brand. So if you see that, let's say, all of the links of the website that was supposed to be a news website lead to the homepage, then something is off. And you do these small checks, internal checks all the time to verify actually if this is natural link profile or or if it's not natural. Not natural doesn't necessarily mean spam. There can be mirrors and websites that just list of websites, and you can get a lot of links that are not beneficial but also not harmful. But your main idea is to see if there's any really harmful links like anchor spam, or if there are neutral links and positive. How much are the positive and how much are the neutral, because you value the domain only based on the positive ones.
Okay, right. And so maybe since you've been in this industry so long and so much data has passed through your eyes, essentially, you seem to take a much broader approach to looking at the internet and what that's going to create as far as like domains go from specific countries. I find that really interesting because typically in these circles we're talking about kind of micro ideas of what makes a domain relevant. And from, I assume, you working with hundreds of thousands of sites all over the world, it's really interesting to hear that you've got this broader viewpoint on what makes something natural on the internet versus unnatural. But would you say that now your approach to finding a good domain versus one that's not so great is very simple at this point in time? Which I know you've developed systems, so it's kind of, but it's...
Yes, basically, if you take 1,000 random domains, you have only something like 10 or 20, which you actually have to think more about before you evaluate them.
Sure.
The other are either a lot will be just bad because they will have no links or just spam links. Some will be good because they will have all nice natural links and it's just a beautiful link profile. And there will be very little middle ground cases.
Sure.
So basically the challenge from one point is not how well you evaluate, because you have to think only about 1% of the time actually if you're experienced, but how fast you evaluate.
Sure.
So we have build a system. I can share my screen and show it to you that we built for extremely fast evaluation.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, it's an internal system, so I can share my screen and show it just for a few minutes.
Sure, if you don't mind. I'm sure people would love to see that. I know I would.
Okay, so that's the system basically, and it has metrics. And the point is that when you want to access a domain, you want to have it everything you want about the domain on one screen, and then only if you have to look at individual links, you open hrefs in another screen, which can be another monitor, so you can look at the two at the same point. But basically, these are the Majestic anchors pulled from the Majestic API, Majestic metrics. This is if it's indexed on Google, it's green, so yes. It has DA, Google Index, and Alexa for a traffic indicator. If it's not indexed, a good thing to save you time not to dig in archive fork is the archive last date. So if archive last date is, say, 6 years ago, it hardly was a PBN.
Okay.
Because it was just a long dead website that still has good links. Here you have hrefs metrics. And here you can leave comments and stuff and here you have groups and tags and other internal stuff. And here you can put the price and you can save it, or you can put next domain and you trash it. So for example, this domain, I just check it in hrefs to see how good the links are. And we find that actually this domain has not a lot of links, but good ones from top Brazil media like Tecmundo and others. So this domain is good for buying. And let's say it also has DA35, which is quite nice. It has TrustLow 1, which you can see how bad TrustLow actually is.
Yeah.
Because this domain had 3 or 4 top media links from DR80 links, but it has just for one. So let's say that because Brazilian domains have high demand, I put this domain at 70, and I save it, and I move to the next one. And here, this is a domain in Peru, which is not bad. It has like maybe $50 evaluation, but because Peru is expensive, it costs about $40 to register per year. This one is not good enough, so I trash it.
Okay.
And I move on. And then we have a typical spam domain, you see, live casino something. So you can just immediately trash it. You don't have to look at it. And see how fast it goes. This one is too
beautiful,
weak.
Yeah.
This one is too weak. This one is too weak, has DA5. So see that this is the speed that we evaluate domains in our company. And without this speed, we couldn't cover basically the volume that we have.
Of
some
course.
Turkish domains.
Yeah, that's very fast.
And so, you know, when you're talking about having 30 people in office, about how many people do you have working with this software particularly to hunt you domains all day long?
We have 10 people. 10 people who only evaluate, and then we have a lot more people who help with the catching. Yes.
Okay.
And we try to give the evaluators like not too diverse work. So let's say one evaluates UK domains, another evaluates German domains, and so on. Because if you try to cover all the aspects of a country, well, I do it, but I have a lot of SEO experience. While if you hire someone with 1 or 2 years of SEO experience, or even people without any SEO experience, who we train them SEO and evaluating domains at the same time, because we cannot find enough people with SEO experience. Obviously, those are hard to find. So yeah, you have to teach people what spam is, and it's easy to teach people what spam is in one country because it's more or less falls around the same trends. But to teach them of all the world's spam, which is completely different,
right? Yeah.
It would be hard. And also for us, we have another challenge. That is, we not only use we don't use the domains for ourselves, but we sell them, which means that we also have to think of the buyer. We always have to make the balance of the domain is good, but will the buyer like it? Or this domain is bad, but maybe some buyer will still want it because it may be a spam casino domain, but it will have small leftovers of casino traffic, which are extremely valuable for certain buyers, of course. So it's always a trade-off between quality of the link profile. Sometimes the name can be not so bad, so it can have value too. Sometimes the traffic can be more valuable than everything else. And sometimes it's all about the buyers, what they want, because if they want to buy stupid stuff, I cannot stop them.
Right.
So we try to make the price adjustment in such a way that people buy good domains. But they still buy the bad domains. Even I make a casino spam domain 10 times more expensive, still someone will buy it.
And they want it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they want it. So people overestimate the niche and the country relevance, so they will pay 10 times as much for a casino domain than, let's say, a games domain, which can be repurposed to casino quite easily. And they will pay 5 times more for a Swedish or Finnish domain compared to another country, although if you take 5 domains from all over the world and put links to a Finnish website, it would be better than one Finnish link.
Right.
But they want the right thing because or especially gambling companies, they have a lot of money, so they think they can buy their way in. But actually, if non-spammed casino domains almost don't exist, no money can buy your way into one of those.
It's over now, right? So, you know, something I'm interested in aspects to what you're talking about is how you price domains in and of itself. So these 10 employees that you have, do they price domains, or is there like a management team that's in charge of that? And then it seems like, you know, we talk about it, it's so just out in the open what domains are worth, or how you're going to purpose them, or what somebody is willing to pay for them. So how, especially since you've got this giant list of like, you know, 10,000 plus domains, how do you go about deciding this one's going to be priced at, you know, $70, this one's going to be priced at $10,000? What's the main things you look for?
Well, before we had a very simple approach to pricing. We tried to price according to the value that we thought the domain has. Okay, it has this link, so this price. And in time we realized that this is wrong business wise, because if you look at domains, they are unique. Each domain only needs one buyer. One buyer may buy many domains, but each domain will be bought only by one buyer. So it's like hitchhiking. You only need one. You 1,000 cars may go past you, but if one stops, you're good because you only need one. So that should be the approach of selling domains. You want most domains sold, but you only need one buyer. So if you have a domain at a price where 2 or more buyers are ready to buy it, you already lost. The price should have been higher.
Okay, sure.
So the way we do it now is we price each domain at the price where we feel that the chances of it being sold in reasonable time, like 1 year, are at least 50%, but not much more than 50%. So we try to be around 50%, because what will happen then is that we won't have domains that have too low prices, where people get them very cheaply and extract a much more value from them. Of course, everyone who buys a domain from us extracts much more value. If you think about it, you buy for $500 a domain with 300 referring domains, and so you can put let's say 8 site-wide links on it in theory. So from such a domain, such a link would cost, let's say, $100 per year at least.
At least,
so
yeah.
You already have $800 in value with buying a $500 domain. Ideally, next day you can sell the 8 links and already have a profit of 300 and still have the domain. So our domains, even though some may seem expensive, they are always cheap compared to the value which you can extract from them, either from selling links or from ranking your own projects. If you rank your own projects, let's say good money-making affiliate websites, then you can get even more, because imagine if you sell the links for $800, someone who buys them and takes the risk then makes even more. They make 2,000 ranking an affiliate website. So domains are the basis of the supply chain, and they are always cheap. So our prices, even if sometimes they seem high to certain buyers, they are actually less than the actual worth then you can extract from the domain.
I think your service brings just tremendous value, especially in this industry where things are kind of convoluted with, for lack of a better word, bullshit. I think your list has always been very straightforward and awesome. Doing business with you has been great. That's cool.
So I think a lot of people that are watching this video might be a little bit new to domain hunting, or might be a little unsure about the methods that they're using for hunting domains. So I was wondering if you could maybe provide a little bit of help to the new guy who's looking to buy domains on his own. Of course, no matter how good your service is, no matter how good your prices are, people are going to want to try to do it themselves at some point too. And I was hoping you might have a little bit of advice for someone who's trying to go that route.
Well, of course, we don't want to discourage people to try their own. I'm always a fan of few people who are trying to at least try doing something on their own, so they can see the specific of it, the way it works. So then, even if you buy it, then you know what you buy. Because if you just go into this and let's say you start PBS now and you start buying domains, you don't know what you're buying. You don't know if you buy the right domains. And considering that our prices now do not exactly reflect the quality of the domains, because before we used to say to people, okay, it doesn't matter what you buy from the list, because the prices do always reflect the quality. But since it's not right for us to do it business-wise, because we want to, the domains that people want more, we want to make them more expensive, even if they're not better. So we cannot say this anymore. So it will be great if people will just look around, see what domains are available, see the auction prices, and then they can, for themselves, they can build themselves a picture. And also, I would always recommend to look at the domains, okay, GoDaddy auctions and the other auctions are super public, so you can just look at all the sold domains and check them after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, what's going on with them. Are they turning to PBNs, into money sites? Are they being used for redirects? In which way? What are the money sites behind them? Because you cannot actually hide it. You can hide it from the bot, but you cannot hide it from a person entering a domain from GoDaddy auction list 3 months after and just curiously looking to what money site it leads. So you can do a lot of research on those.
Right.
And basically you can in time start to see what experienced people who know what their what they're doing, and you can see the money site in Ahrefs. Does it have traffic? Does it rank? And if it ranks well, then maybe this PBN strategy or redirect strategy or money site strategy with expired domains is good. And then you can actually see and investigate what domains they are that give the most value. So basically, it's not something hidden. You can, most of the sales of domains that happen even with domains with links are public. So you can actually monitor, you can see what's going on, and you can learn from other people's mistakes instead of making them your own, because it will be quite expensive mistakes to use an expensive auction domain in a wrong way and butter up your money site.
So I think it's awesome. It kind of ties into what you said earlier. Once you have time, you can explore different opportunities. I see a lot of people that are new to SEO, and they don't understand that it's the inquisitive mind that figures out the solutions to these problems. Get out there and do simple things. Like you said, check out GoDaddy auctions, go back to them a month, 2 months later, and see what they've been repurposed as, see what they're doing with them. And that's going to give you valuable insight without needing technical SEO expertise. It's like put it in an Excel file and then keep track of it. Simple solutions.
But while I do encourage people to investigate and stuff, it's depending on a TLD you need. So if it's .com or .uk or some other country, there are different limitations about the ways you can get domains. So then you go into really domain industry limitations, and we are a huge company now, not huge, but big for the thing we do. 50 people, and we still don't do German and French domains, and we are starting Spain just now. And we haven't been doing Spain. So why is that? This is because it's hard. There are limitations in some countries. Catching is very expensive. So basically, catching is the main problem. You either have auctions or you have catching. There are no other models in the domain industry. If you have auctions, then it will be hard to get anything below market price, and you should really focus on doing good SEO with what you can get at market price. So like choosing a good niche for affiliate and finding a good domain for it and stuff like this. But you cannot really profit from taking a good domain cheap.
Right.
When you have catching, sometimes there's a low barrier of entry to catching in a certain country, and sometimes it's high. And really realizing if it's low or high is no small deal. No one will really tell you that you cannot see this information anyway. You just have to try for yourself and invest time and money to try it. And we have done this investment in all countries. So it's quite a lot of initial investment, and when people ask me how we do get our domains, there's no magic trick really. It's a mix of extreme accumulation of niche knowledge, how things work in every country, a lot of time, a lot of developers, a lot of money. There is no silver bullet, and we have only 100K in deposits, so we can catch. Because we catch in so many different places at once that only the deposit you need to have, so you can pay with credit for the domains while you catch them, because you don't have time for a payment. You actually have to have prepaid for the APIs and everything to work. So we only have 100K in deposits.
Okay.
So it's like the most primitive barrier to entry, but and also when you add all the other stuff, so it's easy to imagine that a small guy or a good developer can can try catching domains, and it can be the case in some rare cases, but mostly it's not easy.
Right.
And the scrapers, the one that just go through broken links, they think is mostly dying unless you search something on a very, very specific niche and you want just to scrape your niche website. Because otherwise, all the domains that the scrapers find are domains that we have decided that are below our floor that we don't buy or catch. Because we already know all domains. So every time a scraper finds a domain, we already know about this domain, that it exists, that it's available. So if we didn't get it, well, of course, sometimes we're just lazy because we cannot cover it all. But if it's a good domain and we didn't get it, it's probably not that good.
Gotcha.
So going back to domain hunting a little bit, you had mentioned that there's no silver bullet. I think a mistake that a lot of people make when they're hunting domains and might be new to hunting domains is they put too much emphasis on, looking for this one metric that they consider a silver bullet. And you had said earlier, you'd mentioned how bad trust flow is and how bad it is at judging the value of a domain. And it's so true, but I think it's probably the most common mistake I see people making with domain hunting is that they're looking at these metrics and they're making horrible decisions based on, this information.
This is true, but you need the metrics because our database has 300 million domains. So the only way you can sort any domains with links is by metrics.
Yeah.
So we need metrics. We pay Majestic, we pay Ahrefs we pay Majestic High Plan for API, and then we pay Ahrefs agency plan to have a lot of manual checks. Mm-hmm. But metrics is not everything. But metrics can help. Actually, I am a fan of metrics, contrary to popular opinion about metrics. But metrics should only be looked at in the context of what the website is. So if the website is a news website in a country that where the structure of the news websites, which are the main donor of links to other news websites, is such that they don't have good internal linking, so their inner pages don't have high Majestic trust flow. So basically you can have a domain with quite nice media links with trust flow 1, even 0. Mm-hmm. So, and it is a logarithmic 0, so imagine how low of a 0 this is, because it's a logarithmic scale. So just trust flow is a very bad metric because it's the anomalies are just crazy. You can have a shitty domain with trust flow 30 and a great domain with trust flow 1 or even 0. So you cannot ever rely on trust flow. But you can rely on referring domains for your initial filtering.
Sure.
And you can rely that if a domain has Ahrefs DR 0, it's bad. This is sure. And if it's 1, it's almost certainly bad, and from 2 and up you can have some that are again with media links. The Ahrefs DR algo, I used to like it more before the massive update that they underwent the switch. But after the switch, I learned to interpret it again. The key thing about the switch is that Ahrefs had the following idea. Okay, most spammy websites like directories, hacked websites, forum, unprotected blog comments, and all of those, what is the common thing? They all have a lot of external links across the whole domain, so not necessarily the page. A directory may have a single listing page with only one link to the website, but the domain, across the domain, they always have a lot of outgoing. So Ahrefs said, okay, let's divide the power of the link from this web page to the number of links for the whole domain, the outgoing links. And then we kill off the spam. Spam will never again increase DR. Okay, smart idea. But then the media also have a lot of outgoing links.
Right.
Let's say BBC has links to 10 million domains or something. Mm-hmm. So then they also kill the value of the media links. And all of the domains that you search for with trusted media links like BBC, they have very low DR now, if they have only those and no else. So you should interpret the DR metric according to whether the website has mostly media links or mostly other links. Or of course, if it's a web design studio that make 3 small websites, but their only outgoing link is the footer link to the web design studio, then you have DR30 with basically almost 0 value. Mm-hmm. So you always remember what you divide by. And
Gotcha.
then you can get back to looking at Ahrefs DR, because if you look at out of context, it may seem a mess. But if you looked at in the context of what the website is and its main link sources, then you can actually look at metrics.
Gotcha.
Trust flow, but trust flow is really messy. Like nothing will help you interpret
Sure.
trust flow, not even context. So your main sources should be DA, which is quite stable, DR in context, and referring domains. And trust flow you should never use unless you see if it's a ton of referring domains and trust flow 1, then it's bad. But if it's trust flow 1 and 50 domains, it may be good. So it's a bit paradoxical.
Sure. Awesome. I think that's gonna
Yeah, I think
clear some
some
stuff up
people
for a
will get
lot
a
of
lot
people.
for sure. Yeah, we you know, we're a little bit in the same boat. A lot of our links are priced by referring domains, and people always you know, very commonly want them priced by something else and wondering why we're pricing them by referring domains. And so we always tell them, you know, once you determine everything else to be quality, then referring domains tends to be a very strong determiner of value.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and so you were saying that you think DA is also a very stable metric for people to look at, like DA and PA.
Yes, mostly. Well, PA I don't look at because it's more like a page metric, but not domain level. But DA we look into, and sometimes it happens that after the most updated their index, I think it was earlier this year. After this update, it happens that websites that are not so good get between DA 25, 30. But it's hard to get more than 30 without being a good website. But most importantly, it's hard to be below 15 and not be very shitty.
Gotcha.